Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to make a pause menu in Unity. So whenever you're playing the game and if you hit the pause button, it pauses the game, and if you hit resume, it resumes the game. And I will also show you how to hook up all of these buttons over here. So with that being said, let's jump right in. Alright, so I'm going to create a UI canvas. I already have one, but I'm just going to make another one. Now under this canvas, you can create a UI panel right there. I'm going to come in here and make the color black so that whenever we pause, it's going to darken the background and add focus to our buttons. So now I'm just going to rename this to pause menu. And then onto this pause menu, I'll go under UI and select button. And now I'll take this button and scale it up pretty big. just like, okay, I'm not going to go there. So just put it down in the middle. Down in the middle. Okay. Now go under your button and just delete this text. Why delete this text? Because this is the old text. This is, I like to call, the legacy text. Nobody needs this. It's very bad quality. So we'll just go ahead and create a text mesh pro, which is just a lot better, has more settings, it even has gradients. Just add it. And I'm going to rename this to just text because it's childed to the button. Don't need to rename every individual child. And I'll rename this to resume button because I think that's what it does. Good teacher. And now I'm gonna add a source image for my button. So I'm just gonna go and find my board here. I'm gonna drag that into the source image. And you know what? Let's make that a bit bigger. Okay, yeah. Be professional. Okay, so next we need to go into the rect transform right here, and holding down shift and alt, you can stretch it to the parent so that it kind of centers the text to the button, and then just align it on both axes so it's dead in the middle. And then I think I'm gonna bump up the font size to something like 120 so it's just really big. And I have a font imported. This is kind of a Japanese looking one, and I'll just say resume. If I could spell it right. That is a bit too big, maybe 110. There you go. So we got the fundamentals of our button. Now we can just copy and paste this button. So I'll just roll this button up and duplicate it twice. One for the menu button and for the quit button. Now I'll just select both of these and drag them down. Same for this button, the quit button. And then I'll rename this to menu button. And this one to quit button. If you're a quitter, press this button. Alright, so go under this text and say menu. And under the quit button's text, say quitter. No. We're professional. It says quit. Alright, so look how easy that was, guys. It was only 2 minutes and you got all this beautiful UI right in front of you. Now, to add function to this, I'm going to go onto my canvas. So the parent of all of this, I'm going to add a component, and I already have it spelled out, but just pause. I already have a pause menu, but I can't make a second one. So I'll just call it pause, new script, create an ad, and go ahead and open it up in Visual Studio. Alright, so let me zoom in for you guys. Alright, so we don't need the start function. We are not going to use that for anything, but we do need a bool to check if we are currently paused. So I'm going to make that going to be a public static. And why static? This is kind of hard to explain. Let's see. Okay, so static, basically what static is, if I go to my wild fish and just go into awake and say if pause, which is my script, and then I gotta make this bool first actually. Bool is game paused to say if it's paused, and I'll initialize that as false so we're not paused at the start. And now if I go back to this script and I can just say pause.isGame paused, and you could see it's right there. You can access it right away, which is awesome. We don't need to find object of type or anything. But if I did not make this static, you go in here and you get a big fat error. So that's why it's going to be a static. And also static variables don't need an instance of a class, so that's also pretty cool. So inside of our update function, what we're going to need to do is we're going to say if input dot get key down. So the moment we press down this key, and we're going to say what key, so key code dot escape, which is the regular pause button for almost every game, right? So if we press this big red button, this stuff is gonna happen in here. First, I wanna check if the game is paused. So if is game paused, so if it is paused, then we want to resume the game, and I'm gonna make these functions in a second. Else, meaning if the game is not paused, then we want to pause it now. So pause the game. And there you go. And now we actually need to make these functions. So let's go ahead and do that. So void resume game. And now most of you might be thinking like, why don't I just put private void in front? Like that would be more cleaner. But I've been coding a bunch and I just don't like the extra code to look at. And void is still private, so it doesn't even matter. It's kind of my own preference for coding now. But anyways, let's just create the pause function now. So void pause game. Alright, so when we pause the game, we need to do three things. We need to turn on the pause menu, we need to stop time completely, and then after that we need to say the game is paused is equal to true, because when we pause, well, it's paused. So to set active the pause menu, we need a reference to it. So I'm going to go up here and say serialized field, and if you're wondering what a serialized field is, it's the same way as saying public so that you can see it inside of your inspector, but this is a little bit more private so that other classes don't need to access it. So if you are making a variable that no other class really needs, then this is just a cleaner way to do it. So serialize the field, and this is going to be of type game object, and this is my pause menu. And right away, because I always seem to forget this, just tap on your canvas and reference this exact pause menu in this field here. And now we're all set and we don't have to forget it later. So now that we have a reference to our pause menu, we can go ahead and set it active. So pause menu dot set active. And then we could give it a value here. So we're going to set it active true. And then we want to stop time. So time.timescale is equal to 0. So nothing will move at all. And then right after all of that, we need to say finally the game is paused is equal to true. So now for our resume game function, we'll just copy all this code, but do everything the opposite. Turn off the pause menu, reset the time scale back to 1, so completely normal, and the game is no longer paused. Alright, so with this pretty simple code, we can go ahead and check it out. And just so you guys don't get stuck, make sure you did not put the script onto your pause menu, because you can't run code off of a disabled object. So if you say pause on a disabled object, it's not going to pause. So that's why I put it on my canvas here. But I'm going to disable my pause menu so that we do not see it at the moment. But when I'm playing my game and I hit pause, boom, there it is. And then I hit escape again, and it unpauses. That's already a lot of good functionality. But now we need to make all these buttons work. Jump back in and put our nerd glasses back on. I want my button to access this resume game function, so it's gonna need to be public. If it's not public, your button will not be able to access it. So now I'm going to make a public void load menu, so you could load the main menu, and then another public void. Again, these has to be public. Quit game. And now in the load menu function, all we will do is reload our current scene. Why? Because I don't have a main menu, but I want to show you guys what happens when we tend to load scenes in a pause menu. So to load a scene, we'll just go up here and say using Unity engine.scene management. And now it allows us to access the scene manager. So scene manager dot load scene. And we can put in a number of things here. We could say load the third scene in the build index. And keep in mind that it starts off at 0. And we could also give it a name of the scene. So we can say load menu. But right now, as I said, I'm reloading my current scene. So I'm going to say scene manager. This is how you get your current scene. Dot get active scene. Some parentheses. Dot build index. So if we wanted to load the next scene in the build index, we could simply say +1, but I'm going to reload the same scene. Cool, that is done. Let's go to our quit game function, and all we have to do is say application.quitter. Oh wait, yeah, quit. We don't frown upon quitters, I forgot. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and debug.log quit, because you can't actually quit inside of Unity. I know there's a way that you can do it, but I'm gonna make sure that we log it in the console just so we know that everything is functioning. So now make sure you save your script and jump back into Unity, and I'll activate my pause menu, and I'll go to my resume button and scroll all the way down, and you'll see this on click event here. You'll want to add an event, and we want to reference our canvas because it has the pause script on it. You can't reference an object that doesn't have our pause script on it, because as you can see here, there it is. So now let's go back to our resume button and select function, and our script is called pause, and what we want to do is resume game. Again, you won't see them here if they're not public, if you didn't save your script, if you're referencing the wrong object, if your functions are static. I'm just making a checklist for you. So resume the game, go to menu button, same exact thing, reference the canvas, function, pause, this time we load the menu, quit button, add an event, reference the canvas, go to function, pause, and quit game. Disable the pause menu, and if we play the game, we can go around and then pause, and then we could also resume the game with a button, and then when we pause again, we could also quit, and it logs in the console right here, quit. And if we press menu, again, it's going to reload our current scene because I don't have a menu. But if we hit menu, we get this problem. Everything is completely frozen. Why is that? Because as soon as we pause our game, our time scale is set to 0. And until we resume our game, it sets back to normal. But when we load a different scene, we don't necessarily change the time back to normal. So we just need to copy this right here whenever you load a scene. And now save that up, jump back into Unity, and whenever we hit play, pause, and then hit the menu, it's all working like a charm. So basically all I really did was I made a bool to check if the game is paused, and every single frame in our update function we check if we hit that big red button, and whenever we do hit that big red button we pause the game, and what pause game does is it reaches in our pocket and gets that pause menu for us. It stops everything and it sets this bool right here to true. So that's actually it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If this video helped you out in any way, please consider subscribing to the channel. Looking forward to more videos, and with that being said, I'll see you next time.